There is a secret that makes a woman see you as a man, not as a friend, not as an emotional crutch, but as a king, a myth.
In this video, you will discover the 5 hidden rules that reprogram your behavior, awaken the most primitive female instinct, and make her desire you, not for what you show, but for what you represent. If you follow these laws, she will beg to be a part of your life. If you ignore them, you will continue to be invisible. But before we talk about desire, we need to talk about hierarchy. If themes like psychology, philosophy, and the darkness of the human soul interest you, subscribe to the channel now. Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, because seeing is for everyone, touching for few. Niccolo Machiavelli. In any game of desire, the worst position someone can occupy is the one who chases. The world does not respect those who beg for attention. Neither men nor women are attracted to someone who gives themselves away too quickly, because the perceived value of something is directly tied to its scarcity. It's simple. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. And here is the first brutal truth that few dare to admit. Those who chase kneel psychologically. Those who offer themselves too much become predictable. And what is predictable is never exciting. For Machiavelli, power belongs to those who can become a symbol of desire, not a servant of someone else's desire. And this applies as much in politics as it does in seduction. When you act like a hunter, trying to please, adapt, win at all costs, you reveal your dependency. And dependency is the biggest repellent in the game. Women and men are not attracted to neediness. They are attracted to mystery, to challenge, to something that seems out of reach. What attracts is not what is given, it is what is withheld. That's why Machiavelli would say, be the prize that must be earned, never the starving dog chasing after crumbs. Psychologically, this has a deep basis. The human brain is programmed to seek what seems scarce, difficult, and exclusive. This is the principle of dopamine. What is uncertain excites us. What is rare captures us. When you pull away, when you don't react immediately, when you seem too busy with your own life, the other person's mind begins to work on its own. Why hasn't he replied yet? Did she lose interest? And without you saying a word, your value increases. You become a powerful absence, a presence that dominates even when not present. And here's the truth. Those who master silence, master the game. But being the prize does not mean being arrogant or cold. It means having a life so rich, so interesting, and so complete that you never need to sell yourself. You are already enough. You are self-sufficient, and this type of energy is magnetic. When you live as someone who has already won, you naturally attract those who are still searching for meaning, because you represent safety, mastery, choice. You do not get desperate, you select. And this posture, this aura of sovereignty, is what separates ordinary men from those who make women obsessed. Therefore, abandon the logic of the hunt. Stop trying to conquer as if the other were superior. Instead, become the territory to be conquered. Live in such an intense, full, and confident way that anyone who enters your life understands. Being with you is a privilege. You are not a number. You are not an option. You are the prize. And prizes do not offer themselves. They are desired, pursued, and sometimes unreachable. Silence is a weapon so subtle that most underestimate its power. But masters of influence know. Those who talk too much reveal themselves. Those who react quickly give themselves away. And those who cannot endure silence are slaves to anxiety, and therefore predictable, manipulable, disposable. On the other hand, well-used silence is like poison. It enters slowly, imperceptibly, and destroys the other's emotional control from within. Because silence makes the other project. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't understand why you disappeared. And in the vacuum of your absence, their mind begins to invent stories. And almost always, those stories hurt more than any words. It is at this point that silence becomes seductive. It creates tension. It creates doubt. It creates space for the other to miss you. And the neediness that once was yours now becomes theirs. Every second you delay in responding, every message you don't send, Every reaction you hold back, all of that communicates, all of that dominates. Silence is what makes the other fight for explanations, for reconnection, for validation. But contrary to what many think, this is not cheap manipulation. It is pure psychology. It is control over time and attention, the most valuable resources in any human relationship. Machiavelli would write that those who know how to be silent govern those who cannot bear the void. And in the realm of seduction, this has never been more true. In a world addicted to quick responses and constant validation, silence is rebellion. It is mystery. It is raw power. While the weak try to fill every space with desperate words, the strong know what is spoken can be challenged. But what is unspoken becomes obsession. Silence is the art of making the other a prisoner of their own thoughts. You don't explain yourself. You don't justify yourself. And because of that, you rise above. Psychologically, this activates the deepest triggers of insecurity and desire. The absence of a reply creates space for idealization. The absence of presence for appreciation. Only when you step back does the other person realize the impact of your existence. Only when you go quiet is your voice remembered. It is paradoxical, but true. Those who speak less are heard more. Those who appear less are noticed more. Because what is rare leaves a mark. What is constant becomes invisible. Silence, then, is not the absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of communication. Therefore, use silence like a sharpened blade. Do not react on impulse. Do not explain your absence. Do not fill every space. Because when you are silent, the other speaks. When you retreat, the other advances. And when you master silence, you master the game. Remember, those who need to speak to be noticed have already lost. True power lies in being remembered, even when you don't say a single word. Every deep emotional conquest begins the same way, with an escape from reality, because the real world is boring, predictable, full of bills, notifications, and obligations. But when you show up and offer a unique emotional experience, something intense, rare, unexpected, you are not just flirting. You are building an alternate universe where the other can feel special, seen, alive. This is the key. You do not win hearts with logic, but with atmosphere. When you create moments that feel like scenes from a movie, conversations that feel like dreams, silences that speak louder than words, the other begins to associate with something magical. Their mind no longer sees you as an ordinary person, but as an experience. And experiences become addiction. Because everyday life is gray, but you appeared in color. You become escape, refuge. And because of that, you become necessary. This is called emotional imprint. And according to deep psychology, the human brain does not easily distinguish memory from imagination. In other words, if you can make the other person feel a strong emotion in your presence, even if it was all a performance, their mind will record it as truth, as something authentic. And that is where attachment is born. Not because of who you really are, but because of who they feel you are. And the more intense that illusion is, the stronger the addiction will be. You will not be remembered for your words, but for the world you made the other inhabit. Jung called this the magician archetype, the mysterious figure who transforms the ordinary into extraordinary. And this is your mission in this game, to become a portal to another reality, where everything is more intense, more symbolic, more alive. This is where the game changes, because when you can distort time, give chills with a glance, or make the other forget the world around them, you are no longer just a person. You are a sensation. And sensations are hard to forget. So do not be just another one. Do not offer just presence. Offer transcendence. Make every encounter feel like the last. Every word, a revelation. Every gesture, a secret. Because when you create a parallel reality, you destroy the competition. The other may walk away for a while, but sooner or later, they will remember. They will compare. They will miss that world that only existed with you. And then they will return. Not out of logic, but out of longing for something they never fully understood, but could never forget. Comment below, I resist the madness. If starting today, you You decide to escape the collective psychosis and take back control of your mind and your life. The human being hates to feel controlled, but loves to believe they are in control. That is why the most dangerous manipulator is not the one who uses chains, but the one who opens false doors and lets you choose what they had already decided. The art of enchanting and dominating lies in leading the other through paths they believe they chose on their own. This is how you plant obsession without seeming invasive. By offering alternatives, all secretly favoring you, you allow the other to preserve their own vanity. They believe they are winning you over, when in fact, you are shaping their every step. You give freedom, but with invisible boundaries. You hand over the steering wheel, but draw the road. And by the time the other realizes it, they have gone too far to turn back. This is Machiavelli's golden rule. People must be led without noticing. Because when the person thinks it was their decision to call you, to meet you, to open up, they surrender more intensely. They defend their own decision. And there is no stronger prison than the one built by the victim themselves. You do not force. You seduce. You do not demand. You enchant. And by doing that, you control without appearing controlling, which is the most refined form of power. Psychology calls this unconscious emotional compliance, a state in which the other person's mind aligns with your desires without resistance because it feels natural to them. You plan ideas as if they were theirs. You use questions instead of orders. You offer silence instead of pressure. And most importantly, you always leave an exit so the person can choose to stay. Because this is the final trick. Those who stay by their own will never suspect they are trapped. The other will believe they are in command, without realizing that you are already living inside their head. They analyze everything they do, everything they post, everything they say, imagining what you would think. You have become an invisible filter between them and reality. And at that point, you have won, without having to shout, without having to insist, just by offering choices that were never real choices. Desire is not born from presence, but from absence. The real impact you have on someone is not measured by what you give, but by what you take away. That is why when you disappear, you do not vanish, you multiply. Your absence begins to occupy every corner of the other person's mind, like a persistent echo. And where you once were, there is now a void, and that void begins to hurt. While the other person tries to rationalize your disappearance, they sink deeper and deeper into obsession. They begin to replay every word exchanged, every gesture of yours, searching for signs, trying to understand. But silence speaks louder, because the human being hates uncertainty, and what is not explained becomes mythologized. You become an enigma, and the enigma is always more powerful than the answer. Because while the answer ends desire, mystery feeds it. Psychology calls this affective intermittence, a cycle of reward and frustration that activates the same brain centers as an addiction. The more unpredictable you are, the more the other person clings to you. And this is where you begin to control from a distance. You do not need to say anything. You do not need to demand anything. Because the other person's mind is already working for you, trying to fill the hole you left. And the more they try, the deeper they sink. Machiavelli already warned, men forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of a benefit. And you are that lost benefit. You become what is missing, what could have been, what was never explained. And the more the other tries to fill your absence with distractions, the more they realize that nothing compares to the impact you had. Your silence begins to speak. Your absence begins to scream. In the end, it is not about constant presence, but about creating an emotional space that only you can fill. A void that no one else can occupy. Because supreme power is not making someone chase after you. It is making someone chase after themselves to try to understand why they miss you so much. And when that happens, you are no longer a person. You become a symbol, an enigma, an addiction, a ghost that rules in silence. And that is when you win. You made it to the end because a part of you has already begun to awaken. The part that got tired of crawling, of begging, of explaining itself. The part that realized that attracting is more powerful than chasing. That true power is not in controlling others, but in becoming inevitable, irresistible, untamable. Machiavelli did not write for the weak. He wrote for those who dare to take the reins of their own reality. He knew that the world belongs to those who have the courage to manipulate their own image, hide their own game, and shape the desire of others like a sculptor shapes marble, not with brute force, but with intention. And if you felt something shift inside you while hearing these words, then you are ready. Ready to stop being a servant, ready to stop begging, ready to become the prize, no longer the beggar. Some think this was the end, but be careful. The war is not over yet. There are still things left unsaid. These 2 videos in front of you are not here by chance. And what if everything you believe about yourself is just a reflection of someone else's gaze? Click now on one of the videos beside and begin to break that mirror. You will have to take the risk of the click. So, which one will you choose? Here, philosophy meets psychology, and together we will uncover the deepest layers of the self. Activate the bell, because the next episodes will challenge you and maybe even transform you. I will see you in the darkness or in the light. The choice is yours.